Do you ever feel like your notes are scattered everywhere? Sticky notes, Google Docs, random notebooks. Sound familiar? What if I told you there's an app that not only organizes your thoughts, but turns them into a powerful knowledge base? That's Obsidian. And today we're diving into why so many people swear by it. Obsidian is a note-taking app with a twist. It's built for linking ideas like your brain does. Unlike traditional apps, Obsidian stores all your notes as plain text files, meaning you own your data. And here's the kicker. It has a graph view that literally maps how your notes connect. Think of it like your personal Wikipedia for your brain. And today, we're diving into how I use Obsidian to organize and store all of my trading related material, and I'll also touch on how I use Notion to take simple and easy notes of all ICT YouTube videos and mentorships in the easiest way possible. When you open Obsidian for the first time, this is roughly what you'll be looking at. You'll have just a bare vault, nothing in it. So what we want to do first is pick and change our current theme to something a bit more aesthetic, add a personal touch to your vault. So to do this, we're going to go to settings, and then when you're in settings, you'll have a bunch of options on the left here. First, you'll want to go to appearance, and then here you can change multiple things, including color scheme, accent color, themes, and font. We'll start by changing the font. I'm using the JetBrains font, which you can just download on the internet. If you like any other font, all you have to do is go on the internet, search for the font you like, install it, and then restart Obsidian. And then when you open it back up, you should be able to search for it in this little search bar here. For me, I like the JetBrains, so I'm going to go with that. Save that. And then I'm also going to add, so I've got an interface font, and we're also going to add it for the text font as well. Just like so. Okay, now remember, you can go through any of these settings and have a play around, and if there's anything you want to change, just feel free to do so. These are just my personal preferences for what I like to do from the get-go. Next, we're going to go to themes. So if you go over to themes here and click on manage, you'll get a large list of options that you can choose from, which just overall change the theme, which includes your text, colors, your background colors, things like that. So I like to use this material glove box here. Then when you find the one you want, you click on install and use, and then there you go. You can exit this and you'll see that the color theme has changed. You've got different colors on your left-hand side here, where you have your files and folders, and colors for your notes. Now to start with, we're just going to talk about how to create files and folders and what comes with that. So on the left-hand side here, you can see you have some options for notes, new folders, and sort of filtering options, etc. Each file you make will show up on the left-hand side here. So first of all, you'll be greeted with this welcome note. You can right click in this area, you can click new note, new folder. But if we start with a new note, we can just make it whatever we want. And then linked to this, you have a graph view. So usually when you open it up, you'll have the graph view appear on the right here. However, if we remove that, if you don't have it, you'll see on the left here, we have open graph view. If you want to open that, you can just click on it. If you want to open into a new tab, you can press Control and click, and then you'll have a new tab here. You'll notice with these tabs, you can drag them around the screen and place them wherever you want. Side by side, top and bottom, etc. There's plenty of freedom with that. In this graph view, any document you make will appear here. Now you'll see in this graph view that the welcome and create a link options are actually linked with this line here. Now you can link documents together, and any document that's linked will have this line, and this can be infinite. If you have 10 documents linked to welcome, they'll all appear here visually for you to look at. Now to do this, you want to go to any document and say you want to link test2 to testing. All you have to do is in the document, do double bracket, and then you've got a list of notes to choose from. From here, I can select testing, press enter, and now that's linked. And you can see in the graph view, they're now linked. So now I'll touch on how this can be useful. For example, you have this ultimate trading strategy, and you want to link 3 different concepts to this, or any notes in particular. This is just an example. So you've got your ultimate trading strategy here. Now, what I want to do is link concept 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to add all of them now. All right. Now we can see that on the graph view, we have all of these concepts linked to our ultimate trading strategy. Now your vault could be populated with thousands of documents, right? This can make it hard to track what's linked to what, and it can be very confusing at times on how to find certain documents that you may have forgotten about. But Say, for example, we go to concept 1 here. If we go to these 3 dots in the top right hand corner, click more options, you can open the backlinks in the document. Now, when you open this, it'll show any document that is mentioned or linked to this. So for example, you see that concept 1 is linked to ultimate trading strategy. Similarly, if you go to concept 2, it'll have the same. Concept 3, it'll also have the same. So if you've got multiple documents linked to concept 1, for example, let's make it another test, and we'll add concept 1. We go back here and you'll see that now test and ultimate trading strategy are linked. Now this is really handy because personally I have a lot of documents, a lot of strategies, and a lot of information linked to these strategies, you know, YouTube notes, all of that. And sometimes I want to know what these notes are linked to. This makes it really easy. Now let's do an example of making a folder system and creating notes. Now you can see on the left hand side here that I've created a fair few folders. Now again, to create a note or a folder, you can either select from the icons at the top here. You've either got the new note or a new folder. Otherwise you can also right click and select either new note or new folder. Now every time you make a new note, what's going to happen is it's going to appear at the bottom here. So for example, let's say we have test 1, put it into any folder we want. All we have to do is click and drag and place it in the folder. And then you can use the arrow on the left hand side here to expand each folder. And then you see there underneath we have the test 1. Now likewise, what you can also do is instead of having to click and drag each new note into the folder, for example, let's say you've got a large amount of new notes. Now you can't select multiple notes at the same time. So what you're going to have to do is either click and drag each individual one into the folder, or what we can do is we can right click, we can go to show in System Explorer, and it'll bring up your file explorer here. Now this is literally all the folders we've created in our Obsidian Vault and the notes as well. Now from here you can highlight all the notes you want and drag them into any folder and it will act the same way. So if we drag them into knowledge, you'll see that in Obsidian over here, all these files that were now below are now in this knowledge folder. It's a bit of an easier way to move around large amounts of files at once. Likewise, you can also create files and folders within this file explorer. So I can just create a new one, call it hello. And there we go. In Obsidian, we've now got a folder called hello. Now, what I also want you to keep a note of is that for each new folder you create, Obsidian will arrange that folder in alphabetical order here on the left. Now for me, I don't want these in alphabetical order. I want to create my own order. So what I do is put a numerical value before the title of the folder. That way, you can organize them in a neat format in the way you want. Now soon I'm going to get into why I've chosen these folders to create. These are the actual folders that I have in my own Obsidian Vault. But first I'm going to show you how to get your vault looking from this to this.
Wow!
This is my personal Obsidian Vault, and I'll go over the details of what I use, why I use it, and the good features that I have. So if you want to follow along, what you should first do is create a list of folders like I have on the left hand side here. Now it's great to add a touch of color to these files with a colored sidebar snippet. So if you follow the link that I provide in the description, it'll take you to the following page. Now when you get to this page, it'll show you the description of what the colored sidebar snippet is. You'll have the installation guide, how it works, options for customizing colors and prefixes and stuff like that. But I'll run over it now quickly. So what you'd first want to do is download the colored sidebar items.css file right here. Now all you have to do is click on it and then come over here and download raw file. So I've already downloaded it, so I'm not going to again. But all you have to do is download that and store it somewhere where you can find it again. Now head back to your Obsidian, open up settings, go to appearance, and then you're going to scroll down until you see CSS snippets. Now open the folder here and it will bring you to the snippets page. Now all you have to do is paste in the colored sidebar items.css file and then you're good to close out. Now all you have to do next is go down to CSS snippets, click on refresh, turn on the snippet, and then look, it'll reveal the cascading colored sidebar. Now each time you make a new folder, depending on where it lies within the order here, the colored sidebar will automatically update depending on where it's positioned. Now you can see here with the new folder, what I've done is I've put it in position 5 and named it ICT Concepts. Now putting it in the middle of the order here, what it's done is automatically adjusted the colors depending on where I've put this folder. And it's just something handy to keep a note of. I'm now going to go over how to find and install community plugins that add more features and functionality to your Obsidian Vault. Now, installing and activating plugins are relatively simple. All you have to do is first go to Settings, and you'll see here you've got a section for core plugins. Now, these are the plugins that everyone who has Obsidian is going to have. And you can go through these, see what they are, you can change settings, etc. You also have the core plugins options here, where you can go through and you can activate and deactivate any of the plugins that come with Obsidian. Feel free to have a look and see if you want to change any. Personally, I haven't changed any. I don't think you need to. The main thing you want to do is look at community plugins. So you have the option here, and you want to turn on community plugins. From here, you've got the browse section. You'll click on that, and you'll get a large list of community plugins. You also have the ability to search for any plugin you want. So, for example, if you want a calendar, you have a large range of calendars here to choose from. For example, you can add your Google Calendar, you can add a normal calendar, there's plenty to choose from, and I'm sure anything you search up, there'll be something for it here in Obsidian. Now, as I said, I will touch on all the plugins I use and give a brief description of what they are. But the first one I'm going to show you is how to get a nice image on the front of your Obsidian Vault, like you can see here. Anytime I make a new tab, the picture changes to something that I've added in my Obsidian Vault. What we're going to do is go to search and type in view to tab. Now, I will put all these names in my description below, so you can feel free to look at my description if you get lost. But once we've searched view to tab, we're going to click on it and we're going to go install. Now, you'll notice on this page as well, it does have descriptions about what the plugin is, how to install, features, etc. Once it's installed, you have the option to enable it. You'll click enable. Once you've enabled, you can go ahead and click options. Now, what this has done, it's actually created a community plugins list on the left-hand side here. So any plugin you add from the community plugins will appear below. And this is where you'll be able to enable any of the plugins that you have, and you'll be able to go through the settings and change and chop whatever you like. Now, a couple nice things to change in Beauty tab here can either be your time settings, so you can choose whether to have 12-hour time or 24-hour time. You can even turn that off if you like. You can show a greeting, so for the default you have hello beautiful. You can change this to whatever you like, good morning, something like that. And that'll be what appears on your new tab screen. Now, for the image, you can add a local file. So all you have to do is click on add local image. It'll take you to your file explorer where you can add any image that you have on your computer. Otherwise, if you have an image in your Obsidian Vault, you can also click on add on vault image. I don't have any images in this vault, but the list would show here and you could choose from that as well. So you can see I've now added an image here. And before this takes effect, what you want to do is under background theme, you want to change it from seasons and holidays to local. Now what that'll do is make sure it uses a local image that you have here. And then you can close this, and when you make a new tab, the image will appear. Now, depending on how many images you have here, that's what it's going to filter through. So when you have multiple images, what's going to happen is every time you make a new tab, it's randomly going to pick one of those images. So the next plugin we're going to go over is Excalidraw. So when you go to browse, it'll probably be the first one that comes up here. It's the most downloaded and installed plugin on Obsidian. So you can read the details about Excalidraw here, but essentially it's a drawing tool. It's integrated into Obsidian as a plugin, and it allows you to sketch diagrams and illustrations with a whiteboard-like aesthetic. So it makes it feel a lot more organic and informal compared to other traditional drawing tools. The good things about this is that it's a hand-drawn style, so it looks very nice. You can embed drawings. You can link a drawing to other files just like you would between file to file. So we'll come over here, we'll go install, enable, and straight away you will notice that you get a little pop-up here. I do recommend going over and watching this YouTube video. It just gives you some details on how to use Excalidraw, little features that it has that I'm not going to cover in this video. Now, once you've downloaded and installed Excalidraw, what you'll notice is that over on the left-hand side here, you have this little icon which allows you to create a new drawing. Now, so anytime you want to create a new drawing, all you do is come over here, press on that, and then you'll have the ability to start making whatever you like. So typically I use Excalidraw for daily reviews. So I'll take screenshots of my TradingView charts. I'll go all the way from the daily down to the 1 minute chart, and I'll do a daily review of the London session and the New York session for every day, or most days. And you'll notice that once I've created this new drawing, that we now have under the files an Excalidraw folder, and each drawing you create will be put into this folder. So So for a moment, I've just flicked over to my Obsidian Vault, and I'm giving you an example here of one of my daily reviews and how I use Excalidraw. So this is great. I've taken screenshots of my TradingView chart, and then what I do is I just go into it. I'll add a text box here and there, supplying information for, things I'm noticing, what my targets are for the day. I add a little screenshot of the news for the day as well, levels I like to see. And then I'll, flick through lower time frames on certain parts of the days, and yeah, just run over the price action. So yeah, this is pretty much my number one favorite thing about Obsidian. You want to be doing daily reviews because it ingrains all of these ICT concepts in your brain. That way, every day you're looking back at the charts, you're sort of in a good rhythm to be able to read price and do it day to day. And you can see here, I keep going. I even add the London session in here. So I've reviewed over the New York and London session, outlining all the possible draws for liquidity, trades taken. So you can see I've got a trade here on the chart as well. And having aesthetic charts is key for me as well. That way, when I look back at my daily reviews, I enjoy it. I like looking at the charts like this and the notes I've supplied. And even outside of these daily reviews, you can use it for brainstorming, mind maps, flowcharts, even just rough sketches. So it's a great tool. I highly recommend having it. Okay, now the next plugin we're going to go for is a calendar. So the one I like to use is the calendar by Liam Kane here. It's the most downloaded on Obsidian as well. So it should be the first one that pops up. We'll install it, enable it. And now you will notice that sometimes plugins that you install, they won't really appear anywhere noticeable. But if you go over to this section to the top right here and expand it, you'll often see, as you can see here, this is where our calendar's gone. So we've got an icon, and you can actually click and drag that around and place it anywhere you want. I like to put it on the bottom left of my screen here below the files and just scale it down to fit perfectly there. And yeah, this is a way to keep track of your days. And you can also click on any of the days here. So today for me is the 28th of March. I can click on this and it will give you the option to create a new daily note. So you can create one here. It's just a good way to, if you have anything for the day that you want, you might have a folder here for your little daily notes, maybe in your organizational tab. You can just add anything you want. And yeah, it's a nice little feature to have. The next plugin we're going to go into is one called Custom Frames. So there should only be one option here, the one here by LPEC. We'll go ahead, again, you can read the information about this, but it gives you the ability to put little icons next to all of your folders. Just something, again, to add to the aesthetic of your Obsidian Vault. So again, you can go through the settings here. There might not be anything you need to change, but you can just have a read for yourself if you like. So Custom Frames allows you to embed external web applications and websites directly into your Obsidian workspace as a pane or a tab. So it effectively turns them into integrated tools within your note-taking environment. This means that just like how we grabbed the calendar on the bottom left here and we're able to move this around, you can get any website or application from the internet and also add it to your Obsidian Vault with the ability to drag and move it around and use it freely wherever you like. So to make this happen, you want to go back to your settings and you want to go to Custom Frames below the Community Plugin tab here. And you'll notice that in this area you have this drop down. And it already comes with some presets built into the plugin. So you can choose between any of these. You might find having a Google Calendar's handy. You can add your Notion to it, which I highly recommend, Twitter as well. But you can also go and add things like YouTube, Forex Factory if you're keeping track of the news using Forex Factory, TradingView, literally anything like that. You just have to add frame, go into the settings, and this is where you can add your URL. You can change icons, display names, do a lot of things like that. So I've gone here and added my YouTube channel and I've changed the display name to YouTube. Now, typically when you do add a new custom frame, what you're going to have to do is, as it says at the top here, you're going to have to restart and reload your Obsidian Vault for any of the settings to take effect. So I've just restarted my Obsidian Vault and you'll notice that I now have Open YouTube appearing on the left-hand side here in the ribbon tab. So I can click on that and it will open it to the side. You can see here appears my channel. And I mean, this is a really great feature. You can add anything you like using this custom frame plugin, and it gives you the ability to integrate it straight into your Obsidian Vault. Now as well, if you want to be able to change the icon here, as you can see, it's just a little note. But you can make this anything you like. If you go back into your custom frames, open the settings for the frame that you want, and under the icon title here, you can put in the name of any Lucid icons. So if you open this, you'll see here that it takes you to this website. Now, and all you have to do is click on search. You can typically type in anything you want. So they might have one for YouTube, which they do. So I can type in YouTube and you can see that the name here is just YouTube. So you can click on copy, go back to your Obsidian Vault, paste the name into the icon there, and then I'll restart my vault once more for the effect to take place. And see, now that we're back into the vault, you will notice that on the top left here, the icon has changed to a YouTube logo. And likewise, you can drag and place this to whatever spot you want on your ribbon. Now, something that a lot of you will also like is the ability to add Notion using custom frames. So I've added it already. If we go to my custom frames, I've got Notion. All you have to do is add it and log in, and you can choose it from one of the pre-selected options in this list here. But I can go over to my Notion, and then boom, you have Notion integrated into your Obsidian Vault, which is beautiful. Now, this is actually kind of a sneak peek into something I'm going to be bringing you guys in the future. It's my trading dashboard that I use in Notion, but that'll be in a later video. Now, the next community plugin we're going for is one called Iconic. Now, there should only be one option for this as well, but essentially it enhances your Obsidian Vault with customizable icons for files, folders, bookmarks, and more, essentially improving visual navigation and aesthetics. Now, once you've installed and enabled, you first want to go to options here. So in options, you have a few settings which I like to change, and you can change it based on what you want as well. First of all, I like to show all file icons. So you can see on the left-hand side here how we have this OneNote. If you turn on the file icon, you'll see an icon now appears next to that. Likewise, I also like to add showing all folder icons and turning on minimal folder icons. This essentially removes the arrow that you would have next to the folder icon for the dropdown. It just removes that, makes it a bit more cleaner looking. I also like to turn main color picker from list of colors to RGB picker. So to change any of the icons next to your folders, what you want to do is simply hover over the top of it, click on it, and it will bring up the option to search for an icon or emoji, and you can change the color of it here as well. So the RGB picker allows you a bit more customization for the color that you want. If you had it as a list option, it would just bring up a list of generic colors which you can choose from as well. Any icon or emoji that you want, you simply just have to type in the name of something and it will pop up. So I'm going to go something a bit generic and just choose a different folder type for now. You can scroll through and choose the one that you want. I'm going to pick this one with an arrow, and I'll click back on it and I'll change the color to sort of match the color icon that I have for the folder title already. So a bit more of a green. We'll save it like that. It's close enough. And likewise, you can go through and do it for all of your other folders as well. And flicking over back to my personal Obsidian Vault, I'm just showing you here, that's how I've turned all of the icons next to my folders to something a bit more aesthetic. And I've also changed the color to match the title of each folder as well. And it looks quite nice. Okay, so the next plugin we're going to install is called Kanban. Now it'll be the first option here with the most installs. And essentially, Kanban turns Obsidian into a visual task management system. Now, this is great for organizing tasks, tracking progress, and boosting productivity without the need to leave your vault. Now in the options, you can see you've got plenty of things to change, but for this, I'm not going to change anything and just go straight into it. So you can see on the left-hand side here, we now have an option to create a new board. This is your Kanban board. So I'm going to put this in my organizational folder. I'm going to create a new board and drag it in there. So once we've done this, you'll see you've got an option here on the right to add a list. And now if this option on the right doesn't appear for you, you just have to use one of these icons at the top, press add list, and it'll open this up. Now before you click add list, what you want to do is give it a title to start with. So my first one's going to be ideas, and you'll click add list and you'll see it'll appear in your board. Okay, I'm going to go ahead quickly and make a few more lists for things that I like to use. Alright, so you can see that I've made a few different lists here, and I've also renamed the board to be called Second Brain, as I usually would. Now, something you can do is you can add a new card. All you have to do is click the button, type in the title, like I have here, and you can drag that or use this option to move to a list between ideas, in progress, done, any of the ones you decide to make. And this can be used for a variety of different reasons. I use it just to keep track of daily tasks and what I'm doing at the moment, long-term goals and projects, and then notes as well. So all we have to do to move it from to do to in progress for say, just press the button and it'll move between there, and you can just go back and look over what you're doing at the time. It's just something really great for your organization. Okay, so moving on, we're going to go to our next plugin. So back to browse, and we're going to type in media extended. And you'll have one option here. We're going to go ahead and enable that. Now, once again, there's plenty of options to change in the settings here. You can go through and have a look for yourself, but again, we're not going to do any of that in this video. Okay, so the media extended plugin is great for adding timestamps, annotations, playback controls, and embedded customization for videos, audio, PDFs, and images. So this is great for students or content creators, anyone who wants to take notes on videos and have a large range of functional tools to use. Okay, so you can see I've added in a video here, and we also have an option to the left of that, which is called Open Media. This is where you can choose to open a local file straight from your computer, or, because I've already got this video here, what I'm going to do is open this up, and you'll see I've now got some options on the top right here. One's to take a screenshot in media, or take a timestamp in media note. Or, if you click on the more options, you can open the whole video in a media note, clicking on this here. Now, what you'll see here is you'll have your video and then a media note for the video opened on the right hand side. Now, whenever you're watching the video, you can skip to any part you want. Say you're watching this part here and you want to take a screenshot, all you have to do is press on the camera icon above it, and you'll see you've now got the screenshot and the time of the screenshot as well. And then you can go ahead and take your notes, whatever you want. Likewise, you can use the start option to take a timestamp without the image, and you can also create another note. So this is really great. It adds a lot of functionality for taking notes right in your Obsidian Vault. Okay, now I know I've only briefly touched on the Obsidian plugins that I use, but if you're after any further information about any of these plugins or any plugins in the future, just have a quick YouTube search. There's plenty of good tutorials out there that go a bit more in depth about what each Obsidian plugin does. And if you're just after more information about good plugins out there, again, just have a YouTube search. There's plenty of videos of people that go over really good functionality tools that you might find useful for your Obsidian Vault. Okay, this is a quick look into what my Obsidian Vault currently looks like. I've got plenty of folders and files in my Vault so far. Each of these is an individual file, and if I want to search anything in particular, it's really easy to do so. There's really so much you can do with Obsidian, and it could really go on for days with the amount of features and abilities you have with this tool. So play around and just see what works for you. We're now going to go and lead into YouTube note-taking using a browser extension called Snippo. Now, Snippo can be installed on almost any browser. Simply search for it in your extension store, follow the prompts to connect your Notion account, and head to a YouTube video that you want to take notes on. Okay, so once you've installed Snippo on your browser, using the browser extension store, you can either pin it to your taskbar. As you can see on the top right here, I've got Snippo for taking YouTube notes. Or you will now notice that below the video, you have this take notes icon, which you can click on. It'll take you to this page where it's simply requesting access to take control of your Notion, which is fine. So we're going to click next on that. I'm going to allow access here. So, and this is the type of page it'll bring you to. So, and you'll notice on these Snippo notes, you've got some great functionality to the right of your screen. You can add timestamps. So if you click on that, you can take a timestamp. And if you are at a certain part of the video, but you want to go back to this specific timestamp, all you have to do is click on that. And there you go. You see on the left, the YouTube video goes to where you make the timestamp. And you can take screenshots, which embed the image straight onto your notes, which is great. Now, this is probably my favorite feature. And you can see you also have a transcript range. So you can adjust this, and depending on if you have a paid version of Snippo or not, I don't. I think it only goes up to a maximum of, say, 30 seconds of transcript range. But if I move to a part where ICT is talking, you can then press transcript range. You can see it's put his words straight onto your paper. Now, this is great for a lot of reasons, especially for those who don't speak English as their first language. Now, this is great because you can make sure that you're correctly writing down what he's talking about. Now, this doesn't add any punctuation or correct grammar, so just keep that in mind as well. Now, you'll also see that you have the option here to take a video clip. Now, this is part of the paid option. As you can see here, it's pulled up a subscription. You know, you don't have to do it. I don't. I find it's fine without having the YouTube clip option. But just in case you want to, it would simply, you'd be able to choose the length of the clip you want to take, and then it would embed that straight into your Notion notes. So it'd be a good feature, but not something that I necessarily need. And you can see you've also got your options to control the YouTube video as well. So you can pause and play. You can also go back 5 seconds, forward 5 seconds. You can slow down the video, you can speed up the video. And then at the bottom, you've got more settings that you can play around with for your Snippo notes. Now, as you may or may not know, taking notes on Notion is probably a lot easier than Obsidian because it has a lot more functionality built into Notion as well. That's one of the reasons why I like to use Notion for all of my note taking. You can make your notes nice and aesthetic, and Notion also links with a lot of other platforms as well that you might like to use. But since Obsidian will still be our larger database, it would be handy to also have these YouTube notes in our Obsidian vault. So to do this, you can simply go to any YouTube note that you've made in Notion and convert it to a PDF to then store in your Obsidian vault to make sure you're keeping everything organized, which is basically the whole premise of this video. So to turn this into a PDF, all you have to do is click on the dots in the top right and you click on export. You turn the export format to a PDF. You can play around with these options if you choose to do so. And once you export, you can see here that I've now got the Snippo note that I've taken from Notion, exported as a PDF and put it into my Obsidian vault. You'll notice that when you have a PDF in Obsidian, you can't edit or type anything to add to this note. So what you want to do is create a new note, and we can just call it Notion note again. And you'll want to click on the PDF and drag it into the note. Now from here, you'll see you've got your embedded PDF that you can scroll through and read. And then below that, you can also type whatever you want. Like we said earlier in the video, you can also add tags to different folders or files that can be linked and searched within your Obsidian vault for future reference. And this is another reason why I have this PDF file folder, because I can take any PDF that comes from either Notion or somewhere else and put it straight into there to keep track of any PDFs that I might not have linked to a new note. Now, another great feature about Snippo is the way that it organizes YouTube playlists. So if you go to any playlist, one that you want to watch, you click on it, and then once you click take notes for the first video, ensuring that the playlist is open, it'll bring you to your note that you want to take. But then if you go back a step, you'll notice that Snippo has created a whole list for every video in that playlist. And this is something you can reach in your Notion whenever you want. Open each individual video and see all the notes that you've taken in a nice and organized way. Now just keep a note on that when a video is added to a specific playlist, it won't update in your Notion, and you'll have to go ahead and do that yourself by either taking notes on the whole playlist again, or just go to the specific video that was added and then click take notes and then add it to this table. Now with that all said and done, my biggest tip for getting the most out of your organization is to simply be consistent with your note taking. Even if it's just a few sentences, capturing your thoughts regularly will pay off in the long run. And don't be afraid to experiment with different plugins and workflows until you find what works best for you. After all, this is your workflow, so go and personalize it and find what works best for you. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you found this walkthrough helpful. If you have any questions or want to share your own workflows, just leave a comment below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm trying to grow a good community of like-minded traders, and I want you to be a part of it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.